Okay, let me set the scene for you. It's appropriate. We're in Israel and it's pouring. This is very good for the Kinneret. It's what we've been praying for. But it does keep you indoors. There's no question about that. Very heavy thunderstorms. Which brings me to the Parsha Beshalach. It said that the wind blew all night, and that's what it did last night. And eventually the sea split. Now picture this. The Jews leave Egypt, right? They're pushed out by Paro. He says, leave and bless me. Right? And out they go, and they're in the desert. They don't know where they're going really. Only Moshe seems to know. And suddenly they realize behind them are the most elite troops of the superpower of the generation, the Egyptian charioteers. So they head forward, and what's in front of them? The Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. So now they are between a rock and a hard place, almost in a literal sense. What to do? Moshe prays. God says, don't pray right now. Move forward. Travel on. There's something else going on that we need to be aware of. In Beshalach, there's a seed planted which will come to fruition as a poisonous fruit later on in the story. Moshe doesn't leave just with the children of Yaakov, just with the Jews. He leaves with the disaffected of Egypt. Over the previous year, the God of Israel has won the battle against the gods of Egypt. Now we understand that God is a universal God, but in those times it was a struggle between two powerful gods, the gods of Egypt and Hashem. And Hashem defeated them. And many of the foreigners living in Egypt, and some of the Egyptians themselves, including Pharaoh's daughter, said, we're on the side of the God of Israel. We're packing up and going. And in that group, the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude, was a very dangerous element. Paro understood, and the Egyptians understood, that they could do tremendous damage to the Jews, not in Egypt, but in the wilderness, if they planted a fifth column. So among those people who genuinely wanted to switch sides and join the Jews, and later would stand at Sinai and become converts, become Jews, was a group of what used to be called the fifth column, fellow travelers, people who were there on behalf of Pharaoh to sow discontent. And right at this moment, the seeds of that discontent have been planted in the Erev Rav. What do we learn from this? We learn that we do have responsibility to help those who are in need. We do have responsibility to help beyond ourselves. Of course, we're responsible for every Jew because they're family. Whether we like family or not, they are family, and there's a responsibility that we have to one another. But beyond that, we have a responsibility to the greater world. And yet, that responsibility is not without limitation. It's very clear that the question of whether the Erev Rav should indiscreetly join the Exodus was one that was contested. Moshe himself said he would be a guarantee for it over the advice of God himself. God permitted it and said, okay, they are your issue. We will see how this plays out in the coming weeks. As we move further into the Midbar, more questions are raised, and the Erev Rav begins to play a bigger and bigger role, and not for the good. So we need to temper our generosity sometimes by discretion. This is not an easy lesson for a charitable people, but it is a lesson that we must learn going forward. It's good news. We're free from Egypt. We're on our own. We have a date with God on the other side of the Yam Suf. We're going to receive Torah. It's all good news. So, as the rains fall here in Eretz Yisrael, in Carmiel, to fill up the Kinneret, the water that we need, I want to wish you all a Shabbat Shalom. Bye now. Oh, sorry, forgot one more thing. This is my first year living here. And this means that as Tu B'Shvat, the full moon of the month of Shvat, comes at the end of January this year, we will enjoy the fruits of the land of Israel. And for me, it's the first time in 70 years that those fruits are not dried imported fruits from Israel, but really fresh fruits from the land of Israel. I want to wish you all a good Shabbos. I will see you after Tu B'Shvat. Have a wonderful Tu B'Shvat, and see you next week. Shabbat Shalom.